Hello everyone, Panel776 here, child banner time. Whose children are we fighting this time? Young and ambitious. Indeed. I always fight. This is a weird banner, right? Everyone else. Ooh, Hector. That is Hector, right? Yeah, that's Hector. He said Eliwood. He's definitely Hector. It's especially weird to think of Hector as a child because Hector, in like the game you actually play him in, he's only like 17. I mean, he looks like an grown ass man, but he is still like a teenager because Fire Emblem. But no, this is the start of yet another child soldier's banner, and well, Hector starts it off. I'm guessing we're going to see Eliwood, Lyn. People were expecting Rebecca as well from Silhouettes, so yeah. Hector is an X armor. Interesting that they made him an armor. I guess a lot of the fully promoted Hectors are armors, but it's worth remembering that Hector does actually start out as an infantry lord before promoting to an armor. So I guess he's an armor as a kid, he's an infantry as a guy, and then as a promoted guy he's armor again, sure. But yes, axe armor, armed with the Valiant War Axe, accelerates special trigger, cooldown count -1. The start of combat, if used HP is greater than or equal to 25%. Inflicts attack defense -6 on foe during combat. Inflicts special cooldown charge -1 on foe per attack. The highest value applied does not stack, and reduces damage from attacks during combat by 30%, excluding area effect specials. And also, run-on sentence. If units within 3 spaces of an ally, inflicts penalty on foe's attack during combat equal to 12 minus foe's max special cooldown count value times 2, minimum 4. And if foe does not have a special skill, 4. So, a pretty standard armor weapon here. It does have a very heavy amount of attack reduction, attack defense -6 flat, but also then potentially up to 10 more reduction if the foe is running a 1 cooldown special. So -16 attack, that is pretty dang strong. Aside from that, slaying is obviously the best effect they put on these things, best the basic effects. You've got guard, and you've got just 30% damage reduction, and those are both on all these effects are on very easy conditions to meet. 25% HP condition is that's a very easy condition, and 3 spaces of an ally, huge area. The new special, Armored Beacon, boosts special damage by 40% of unit's defense, and if foe's range equals 2, and unit or foe's special is ready or triggered before or during this combat, reduces damage from foe's next attack by 40%, once per combat, excluding area effect specials. Okay. And notably, that is a special with damage reduction. It doesn't say that is counted as non-special damage reduction like Vital Astra, so that is the damage reduction piercing skills are not going to naturally go through that. The condition is also really interesting as well for that damage reduction. If this special is ready or is triggered, or if foe's special is ready or is triggered. So if you're running into foes with pre-charged specials, those are going to immediately get your 40% damage reduction against that pre-charged special. If you're running into foes who are charging their special on the second hit to try and get around Hardy Fighter, then no, that 40%, because you only get it once per combat, right? But that 40% is going to start kicking in once a special is charged, not before that. Or once a special triggers, but obviously a special has to be charged in order to trigger, right? Actually, comparing it to Hardy Fighter, this is an interesting point of comparison to make, because previously armors have had 2 options, really. Hardy Fighter is the tankier option. Hardy Fighter is Well, for one thing, with any defensive special, Hardy Fighter is still going to be more defensive than this, right? Because Hardy Fighter, even with one of the 30% damage reduction specials, 30% doubled is 50% because of maths, and then it's also giving an extra hit of flat damage reduction, so no matter what, you're getting more than 40%. Now, on the other hand, you can also forgo Hardy Fighter, go for a damage reduction special instead. No, I'm an idiot. Go for a damaging special instead, because the downside of something like Hardy Fighter is that specials are really quite a large part of armored units' damage output. You kind of want to be running, especially if you've got high defensive stats, right? You want to be running something like Bonfire Ignis, so that you're able to take advantage of that and actually kill enemies on the counterattack, rather than leaving them alive with a sliver of HP, which then leaves you up for follow-ups. So that's something important to take into account there. Interesting is if foe's range equals 2 as well, so I'm guessing this is an inheritable special. I'm wondering if this is going to be inheritable on ranged armors, because I've said it makes kind of a good middle ground, because it's basically a smaller bonfire, only a little bit smaller, only 10% smaller. But the other thing to note is ranged armors can't run Hardy Fighter. They can't. It's not an option. Ranged armors have to run an offensive special, so if this is inheritable on ranged armors, which I sure hope it is, because even though there aren't many ranged armors at all, and even fewer ranged armors with actual PRFs, they are still an archetype that I really like for their utility. And yeah, if this gives ranged armors a way to actually have real damage reduction, that is very exciting. Real damage reduction on a special, of course, because they can get damage reduction other ways. In the A slot, Ostia's Heart, Hector, of course, being Hector, gets a PRF A slot, because why shouldn't he? Unit can counterattack regardless of foe's range. If foe initiates combat or foe's HP is greater than or equal to 75% at start of combat, inflicts attack defense -8 on foe during combat, and also when unit deals damage to foe during combat, restores 7 HP to unit. Okay, so just a very strong distant counter skill there. Attack defense 8 is a lot. We've seen similar amounts of reduction on A slots for like Arcane Grima, for Mortis. That amount of reduction does a significant amount, right? And then you also just have healing as well, and that's on top of it being a distant counter skill, which distant counter skills are normally kind of a stat loss to run, because if you didn't have to run distant counter in that slot, you could be running an A slot like a Unity, or, well, there are other A slots, I don't need to name every A slot for you, that can give you a lot more effective stats. So, and stats are important for winning fights. It's Fire Emblem. The B slot, Vengeful Fighter 4, is back. Seems like a good option. I mean, based on how he's probably able to cycle specials pretty well, I'd also... Well, he does have guard built in. I was going to say I'd also say Special Fighter 4 is a good option for him, but he would be doubling up on guard there, and you don't actually get any bonuses for doubling up on guard. But yeah, there are options here, and in the C slot, DR Far Save. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Armored Beacon is triggered by ranged attacks, right? So making a Far Saver, why not? Hector here seems like a very strong unit. He is not necessarily the strongest unit around, just because he has the same issue that all armors that are not named Brave Hector or Idun or Grima have. Namely, he is still vulnerable to armor effective damage. That being said, the kind of duochrome thing that cuts through damage reduction, but he has a lot of damage reduction, flat 30% on everything, and then an extra 40% from the special. That's a lot, but since the special is special damage reduction, he does have a bit more survivability against stuff like a duochrome Deadeye than many armors will have, but he's probably still dead if that Geocrom has a decent build on it. Still, very interesting both as a unit and as a potential follower option for Armored Beacon, because I'm already thinking of a lot of units that could get some serious mileage out of that. Very cool. Let's keep going, shall we? There's his damage reduction. And there's the damage. Next up, that looks like Eliwood to me. Pledged Friend.
To follow in my father's footsteps.
Eliwood is a horse unit. I like the sword he's got there. Very small sword. What are they showing off
What next?
here? Oh, he's got bonus doubler, does he? Very fun. He is a sword cavalry unit armed with a fiery war sword. Why do they always put war in the name of these weapons? You ever think about that? Why are we getting these kids involved with war? Except because it's funny. Accelerate special trigger, cooldown count -1 if he initiates combat or is within 2 spaces of an ally, grants attack speed, defense, res plus X to unit during combat, where X is equal to the number of bonus effects active on unit, excluding stat bonuses, ×3, +5, max 17. Okay, max 17 +5, so that's going to be what, 12 ×3, so you're going to want 4 bonuses on this guy for maximum stats. With 4 bonuses on this guy, he's running around with +17 to everything. That is one hell of a stat swing. Neutralizes effects with guaranteed foes' follow-up attacks, and effects that prevent units' follow-up attacks, and reduces damage from foes' first attack by 40% during combat. Okay, so very, very simple effects here. It's big old stat swing. He's got the Brave Crom style stat stacking from effects. Now, it's not quite Brave Crom because 1, there's a cap on how many effects you can stack, and 2, he only cares about bonuses. Brave Crom, you can also stack penalties, which is very funny. But yeah, big stat stacking that way, full null follow-up, and a hit of 40% damage reduction. Simple, but based on just how high those stats can get, I think this is going to be a pretty decent weapon nonetheless. Special is Luna in the A slot, speed defense clash. Definitely a viable option. I'm not entirely sure if speed is necessary, like if this is necessarily the clash you always want to run on him, because I mean this doesn't give him any attack, and I mean he is getting a decent amount of attack, but we can go higher, right? So yeah, depending on what units you're fighting, like if you're looking to kill something like Lucia, maybe this is the right option, but I think in general something like attack speed or attack defense, depending on if you're going for speedy or tanky, would both also be like completely viable. Speed defense, of course, it will work, but like there's always a bit of a ooh, do I really want this whenever you're running a skill that doesn't actually give you attack in the A slot. B slot, speed defense near trace free. Obviously, melee, cavalry, run a near trace, why not? And in the C slot, inborn idealism. At start of turn, if dragon or beast ally is deployed, grants attack speed defense +6, bonus doubler, and null panic to unit and ally with the highest attack, excluding unit for 1 turn. He is doing the whole legendary Eliwood thing here. As a child, apparently he already knew how to do that, and then he forgot it as he grew up, but then he turned into a legendary unit and he remembered it. Interesting storytelling there, but this was very good on legendary Eliwood. It's still good here, I assume. For one thing, it's giving him bonus doubler, it's giving him null panic. Guess what? That's 2 out of your 4 effects you want right there. So long as he's got this, he is already running around with what, plus 11 to all stats, and with 2 more effects, he's already at the cap, and 2 more effects is very easy to get. You know who gives 2 effects at once? Asker, regular or duo. There's other units who do as well, but yeah, this is a very easy unit to get up to that, like, big old stat ball level, and once you do, he's got decent tankiness thanks to his damage reduction. He's got null fort. Just slam him into things. It'll be great. Not a particularly like game-changing unit in any respect, but I think this Eliwood is one of the best just stat ball bruiser calves around. So have fun with him. Let's see who's next. Who is our 4-star going to be? Oh, and we've got to see animations as well.
My blade strikes true.
Oh, he's getting stabby. Next up, oh, people were right. That is Rebecca, Breezy Scamp.
I wonder what the world is like outside my village.
I'm not entirely sure why we're just getting a ordinary village child to fight for us, but don't worry about it. Fire Emblem. Armed with the Gussety Warbow. Interesting name. Accelerate special trigger, cooldown count -1, effective against beast and flying foes. Beast effectiveness pretty rare still. Picnic Flora has it, Petrine has it, a few other units have it, but obviously not quite as important now as it was a while ago, because back in the era of Fallen Edelgard, beast effectiveness was great to have, but now it's kind of alright to have. Still useful against niche cases, but beasts aren't quite as everywhere as they used to be. At start of turn, if units within free space of an ally and unit special cooldown count is at its maximum value, grant special cooldown count -1 to unit. Built-in times pulse, ain't that neat? If units within free space of an ally, grants attack speed defense res +5 to unit and reduces damage from foe's first attack by X% during combat. Combat against a beast foe or a cavalry or flying foe with range 2, X is 60, otherwise X is 30. And also if unit special is ready or unit special triggered before or during this combat, deals +7 damage during combat, except when dealing damage with area of effect specials. One of the things I love about FEH is just how many of these parenthetical or read for terms and conditions statements they have to put into everything. This is a very solid weapon. Double effectiveness, beasts and flyers. Slaying, because of course every good weapon gets slaying these days. Built-in times pulse. Alright, so with times pulse in the C slot, you can times pulse down a 2 cooldown special. With times pulse quickened pulse, you can instantly free cooldown special, which means there's potential here, right, for looping free cooldown specials with special spiral times +4 if you want to go into a high investment build. Looping free cooldown specials and just having them immediately turn 1 solo, no support, or if you've got some support, you can run other skills in your S slot, I guess. That's very interesting, and yeah, +5 to all stat, decent damage reduction. Like 30% is already pretty good for just keeping a unit alive if you're fighting against a beast or cavalry or flyer who is ranged. So that's kind of an odd selection of units. I guess the reduction against ranged cavalry units specifically makes her a decent anti-cav line option on offense, because those run ranged cavalry units, right? So, you know, 60% damage reduction. What's not to love? And then also playing into the special looping theme, if you've got a special ready or triggered, 7 more damage. So that's kind of like 7 more attack, but it's damage. which is better than attack, except when it's not. But when it is better. I don't know where I'm going with this. It's early in the morning. Yeah, very, very interesting unit. As for the rest of the kit, Moonbow. Kind of odd with her. No, not odd at all with her base kit actually, because she has slaying as well. So actually, when I say you can loop 3 cooldown specials, what I mean is you can loop 4 cooldown specials. You can loop Glacies. You can loop Ignits. This Moonbow is going to be a 1 cooldown special and is going to be times pulsed and then Behold Moonbow. Attack speed finish 3. Actually, let's check what the finish 3s do, because I'm so used to finish 4s because there aren't really finish 3s around much, are there? If units within free space for now, attack speed +6 and +5 damage if unit special is ready or triggered. Okay, yeah. Well, mainly though, the fact that this is on Rebecca means for those of you who want to get attack speed finish 4, very good skill, would definitely recommend, you now have a potential step up in terms of fodder so that you can fodder off other skills alongside it. Previously, that wasn't possible in the B slot. Null follow-up 3. Still a very strong skill, has a bit less of relevance now just because it is available in the S slot. And there's a lot of good ways to offload null follow-up onto other units as well, but it's still very good fodder. This is a high quality 4-star all around, and as a 4-star, if you want to +10 her, well, absolutely go ahead, because she has a lot of potential, especially with investment, as I've said, as a very powerful special looper. Have fun. Have very fun. Lastly, who is our duo going to be?
How am I doing?
You're doing pretty well, Rebecca. Lynn and... Excuse me? Is that who I think it is?
Let's hold hands.
It's
so we don't get
Mark!
separated, okay?
Mark! What? Hello?
Swift as the wind.
That's a new status. Something else I noticed as well, besides the fact that it's Mark. Mark is in Fire Emblem Heroes and is in Special Hell as a duo unit. Like, not only have we finally got Mark, the unit who doesn't talk or like show up at all, doesn't even have a portrait, so this might be like one of the first pieces of official art of Mark, and it's as a child trapped in Special Hell in Fire Emblem Heroes. The other thing I was going to say is, when I said he doesn't talk, apparently they're really keeping up with that, because I only saw one voice actor listed for Mark here, which is Lynn's voice actor, and I only heard Lynn talking during those lines as well, so... Well, in any case, Mark is a blue tome infantry armed with the Total War tome. A very good series of video games, would definitely recommend. Accelerate special trigger, cooldown count -1. Has everything had that? At the start of turn, inflicts attack speed defense -5, -5, not Rhinus. Sabotage, there's the new status I was talking about, and stall on closest foes within 5 spaces of unit, and foes within 2 spaces of those foes through their next actions. So you're sabotaging and stalling basically an entire defense team here, for instance, or an entire arena team, or you're sabotaging it. 5 spaces, you can barely get 5 spaces away on the size of maps in Heroes, right? There's not enough room to be 6 spaces away from things. That's just silly. Start of combat. If unit's HP is greater than or equal to 25%, inflicts attack speed defense res -5 on foe during combat, and unit makes a guaranteed follow-up attack. And also, if a stat penalty is active on any foe within 2 spaces of target, neutralizes effects for inflict special cooldown charge -X on unit during combat. And sabotage. What does sabotage do? Inflicts penalty on unit's attack speed defense res during combat equal to highest penalty on each stat between unit and allies within 2 spaces of unit through its next action. Calculates each stat penalty independently. Okay, so looking at this, Mark's actual personal ability to fight is kind of on the lower end. You're basically just getting... Okay, actually... Yeah, you're getting -5 to all stats, which is kind of +5 to all stats, if you think about it. But -5 to all stats equivalent. Guaranteed follow-up attack, and if a stat penalty is active on any foe within 2 spaces of target, which it should bloody be, because you're applying it to like nearly everyone, tempo. But Mark's real strength, which makes sense from Mark's role as tactician, right, is as a supportive character, because the -5 spectrum debuff, sabotage, stall are all things that your entire team can take advantage of, right? And sabotage basically doing the same job as foe penalty doubler, although a little stronger than foe penalty doubler, because foe penalty doubler only counts your foe's penalties. Sabotage basically doubles for penalties of the highest penalty in a... Think Yoon, right? Where Yoon checks you but also checks your nearby allies for penalties. This is doing the same. It's doubling the highest penalty on any ally within 2 spaces. So even if you're a unit who is immune to penalties, that doesn't matter. So long as someone else is standing near you and they also have penalties, that's getting doubled. And considering that you probably have attack speed defense res -5 minimum, that's effectively stacking an attack defense a spectrum -5 just from having sabotage on you, like an extra spectrum -5. Interesting actually that we got Legendary Robin with Grand Strategy, and then immediately afterwards the next couple of Special Heroes banners have both had debuff penalizing effects. Which, I mean, even if you stack sabotage and foe penalty doubler by running Mark and Triandra, you're still not quite cancelling out double unity. Is the funny part. You kind of need one extra thing to get through double unity. That's just ridiculous, frankly. Especially as Iceberg, I'm guessing Mark is going to be a high res unit. The A slot, Remote Mirror. We've seen this before on Picnic Leo. You initiate combat, attacks +7, res +10, and 30% damage reduction from foe's first attack. Just a very handy little skill for attacking into someone and then surviving to actually make that follow-up attack. B slot, it is a new tier 4 skill, Sabotage Attack Res 3. I'm assuming that's attack res. Start of turn, if any foe's res is less than unit's res and that foe is adjacent to another foe, inflicts attack res -6 on that foe through its next action. At start of combat, if unit's res is greater than foe's res, inflicts attack res -X on foe during combat, where X is equal to 3, plus highest penalty on each stat between target and foes within 2 spaces of target. Okay, so I guess I see why that status is called Sabotage now. Apparently this is what the Sabotage 4s are doing. Effectively the same thing as the Sabotage status. They're looking at penalties within 2 spaces of the target, and they're effectively doubling up on that penalty. So, right, if you're running foe penalty doubler, if you're running Mark and you're running a sabotage free skill on whichever unit you're attacking with, theoretically against a double unity foe, you have now cancelled out the effects of double unity. Which is, it's a kind of steep price to pay for dealing with, like, just double unity, which you're getting for free from, like, one unit on the enemy team. But it's interesting that they're doing this. I still think the better effect for punishing debuffs is still dominance, because sure, flipping like their stat buffs around stat debuffs is great and all, but you know what hurts more than like lowering your all your stats by 5? Taking 20 more damage from getting hit, right? So I think if they really wanted to properly counter Legendary Robin, then they would have printed more sources of dominance, but in the meantime this is still decently effective, honestly. And the C-slot, Kanto Control 3. Funny that I mentioned Legendary Robin actually, because it looks like they're just printing Kanto Control 3 on more units now. I mean, it's a very good skill to have, don't get me wrong, it's a very important skill to be out there doing things with. Because, you know, there's a lot of people who Kanto, and it's very annoying that they Kanto. I'd like it very much if they stopped. That's what Kanto Control is for. Are they making it kind of like a strategist skill? Because, again, Robin, strategist. Mark, strategist. Well, in any case, let's see Mark's animations, and let's also see that duo skill. Ooh, very cool animation with the wind doing some kind of wind thing. Duo skill inflicts isolation, guard, and special cooldown count +2 on foes within 3 rows or 3 columns, so big cross shape, centered on a unit. Very simple, very strong, and just... This is the sort of skill where, I say this before, on A-Phrase defense, you do not want to let duo skills go off, ever. This is why. Isolation, just shut down your dancers, your rallies, all that stuff. Guard, shut down your specials, and undoes pre-charged specials. So just no. You don't. No. No. Not happening. This is a very just say no sort of skill. Let's have a duo voice line as well.
Lend us strength.
Yeah, it's just Lynn. And yeah, those units are absolutely, like, they're not having a good day. You look at that, attack -20, res -20. Great times. And some pretty sizable damage to boot. Who is Tempest Trial unit going to be? Is that Lucius? That is Lucius. Okay, so Kid Lucius as the Tempest Trial unit has there a staff. Okay, let's quick final overview of the banner. I think Hector and Mark are really the meta shaking units here. That new armored special I'm very excited to use. I'm very excited to see who it's inheritable by. And Mark is kind of pushing back against the sort of overall dominance that Legendary Robin has had over the meta for a while because of Unity Stacking's ability to just put ridiculous stats on things. Right? I don't think he completely counters Robin. Like, again, if you look at the matchup with him and Robin against each other, they sort of just cancel each other out, right? And if you've got extra unities in the pool as well, suddenly you need to throw in foe penalty doubler as well, just to sort everything out. But still, even like some pushback is probably going to be enough to even things out. As for the rest, Eliwood, just a pretty handy stat stick, and Rebecca, another very strong 4-star Probably one of the best units to build right now if you want to just build a special looper. If you've got a spare Spiral 4s hanging around from A Hero Rises, you're wondering who to put them on, why not Rebecca? Right? Anyway, that's more or less all of it. I'm probably going to be pulling a Hector, or hopefully multiple Hectors, because I'm going to be honest, I want that special. Let me know what you're going to be pulling for, if you're pulling at all. Are you saving your orbs? Maybe you don't like children. I can understand. Still feel a bit weird about the whole banner theme, right? We're making kids fight, but it is what it is. So yeah, I'd love to hear your comments, and I will see you all in the next one. Penrost out.